Welcome to the AI Checkpoints. Get ready to plug into a conversation about speed, scale, and defense because, well, the world of cybersecurity is undergoing a radical and, frankly, rapid shift. We're diving deep into sources detailing the work of Anthropic, specifically focusing on how they are equipping cyber defenders with frontier AI models like Claude Sonnet 4.5.
Disclaimer. This content is generated by AI.
Our mission today, really, is to understand exactly how AI has moved from being just a theoretical, a scary future concept
Yeah.
to a practical, immediate tool for both attackers and protectors.
And the urgency you mentioned is absolutely key. The sources we looked at, they confirm we are decisively at an inflection point, a real turning point for AI's impact on the whole cyber ecosystem.
Right.
What's critical here, I think, is recognizing that the speed of capability growth, it just means this isn't some future problem. It's very much a present-day imperative.
Okay, let's unpack that acceleration then. Because historically, researchers noted that early AI models weren't particularly powerful for advanced cyber stuff, right?
Right, they had limitations.
But the sources are crystal clear. A massive shift has occurred just in the past year, confirming that AI models are now genuinely useful in practice. And here's where the data gets, well, truly staggering.
Yeah, the evidence of this power is pretty stark. Anthropic actually demonstrated in simulation that their models could reproduce one of the costliest cyber attacks in history, the 2017 Equifax breach.
The Equifax breach. Wow.
To give that context, I mean, that attack exposed 147 million records. It ultimately cost billions. The fact that an AI can replicate that level of complexity, that shows the immense leap in scaling capabilities we're dealing with.
And it's not just simulation, is it? We have to look at how threat actors are leveraging this power, like right now in the real world.
Exactly. And Anthropic's Safeguards team has actually been finding and disrupting these activities on their own platform, which is quite interesting.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, for instance, they discovered and halted a case of what they called vibe hacking.
Vibe hacking.
It's a term for large-scale emotional or social engineering fraud. Basically, a cyber criminal was using Claude to build a complex, large-scale data extortion scheme. A task, the sources note, that would have previously required an entire human team.
So scaling up organized crime by basically eliminating the need for a whole crew of people, that's frightening.
It is, and it goes beyond just cybercrime. Safeguards also detected Claude being used in increasingly complex espionage operations.
Espionage.
Yeah, including targeting critical telecommunications infrastructure. And the actors were consistent with state-backed threat operations, APTs. All this evidence just screams that we cannot afford to wait.
Okay, so given these accelerating attack capabilities, the need to focus heavily on defenders is just undeniable. The core message from the sources seems really direct. We should not cede the cyber advantage derived from AI to attackers and criminals.
Exactly. So the necessity to arm the defenders is clear. Which brings us to Anthropic's focus strategy here. They engineered Claude Sonnet 4.5 specifically to address this defensive gap.
Right, so if Opus 4.1 was their previous high-power frontier model, how does Sonnet 4.5 fit into this arms race?
Well, what's fascinating is the role of these emergent abilities. As large language models scale up, skills just appear that weren't necessarily the initial target of training.
Like finding software vulnerabilities.
Exactly, like finding and even exploiting software vulnerabilities. These were initially just kind of byproducts of general AI development.
But relying on, happy accidents isn't really a strategy when national security is potentially on the line.
Absolutely not. So researchers dedicated specific efforts to explicitly make Claude better at key defensive skills, particularly code vulnerability discovery and, crucially, patching.
Okay, patching too. That's important.
And critically, the sources highlight what they didn't enhance. They deliberately avoided improvements that clearly favor offensive work things like advanced exploitation techniques or writing malware. The focus is strictly enabling models to find insecure code before it gets deployed and to fix vulnerabilities in code that's already out there.
And that focus on efficiency is key too, right? You mentioned Sonnet 4.5 provides comparable or even superior cybersecurity performance to the more powerful, more expensive Opus 4.1, but it's faster and cheaper.
Significantly cheaper and faster to run, yeah. And that speed and cost difference, it fundamentally changes the economics for organizations trying to actually integrate these tools broadly. It makes it feasible.
Okay, feasibility is huge. Now, how do we actually prove this effectiveness? Let's turn to the evidence from those industry standard evaluations like Cybench and CyberGym. What did they show?
Well, Cybench, which is a benchmark drawn from those capture the flag competition challenges, it showed really striking results, primarily in terms of efficiency.
Okay.
The most striking metric, according to the source material, was this. Sonnet 4.5 achieved a higher probability of success given just one attempt per task than Opus 4.1 achieved when it was given 10 attempts per task.
Wow, 1 attempt versus 10.
Yeah.
That is a massive efficiency leap. Much more precise.
It really quantifies the staggering velocity of progress we're seeing. And the overall success rate, when giving the model 10 tries, it actually doubled.
Yep.
Doubled in just 6 months, jumping from about 36% for the previous Sonnet model to over 76% for Sonnet 4.5.
Doubled in 6 months. That acceleration just fundamentally changes the timeline for organizations, doesn't it? I mean, chief information security officers, CISOs, they can't procure human expertise fast enough to keep up with that kind of pace.
Exactly. And to give you a tangible example from the Cybench framework, there was this complex challenge involving analyzing network traffic, extracting malware, then decompiling and decrypting it, a task estimated to take a skilled human analyst at least an hour.
Okay, yeah, that sounds complex.
Claude took only 38 minutes to solve it.
38 minutes.
Think about what that means. Significant automation of deep, complex analysis. It frees up that human analyst for the higher level thinking, the strategy.
Right. Okay, so that's Cybench. What about CyberGym? That benchmark evaluates agents on real open source projects.
Yes, and on CyberGym, Sonnet 4.5 set a new state-of-the-art score under the public leaderboard's $2 cost constraint.
Okay, but hang on. If attackers aren't limited by a $2 cost constraint in the real world, doesn't that score become almost irrelevant for actual defense planning?
That's a really great question. And the sources did address it directly by removing those constraints in further tests. If we look at attacker motivation, right, they'll use persistence. They won't stop after one try if it costs a bit more.
True.
So when Anthropic gave Claude 30 trials per task, which cost about $45 total per task, so still not exorbitant, Sonnet 4.5 reproduced known vulnerabilities in 2/3, 66.7%. of the test programs.
2/3. That's significant persistence paying off.
Yeah.
And what about discovering new flaws, things nobody knew about before, not just reproducing known ones?
That's where the high trial environment really showed its power, according to the CyberGym benchmark results. While Sonnet 4.5 discovers new vulnerabilities in about 5% of targets with just one trial.
Okay.
That jumped dramatically to over 33% when it was given those 30 trials.
A third of targets had new vulnerabilities found just by letting the AI run longer.
Exactly. It confirms that the ability to cheaply and persistently iterate makes these AI systems incredibly potent forces for finding flaws.
It really seems like vulnerability discovery is becoming, well, almost routine for these models. So let's move on to the tougher challenge you mentioned earlier, patching and remediation. Why is fixing the hole so much harder than just finding it?
Well, the difficulty really lies in the fact that the model has to perform a kind of cyber surgery and needs to make really surgical changes that remove the vulnerability without altering the original intended functionality of the code.
Right, you don't want to break the software while fixing it.
Precisely. And often, without explicit specifications or guidance, the model has to infer that intended functionality just from the code base itself. That's a much higher bar.
Okay, so it's tricky. What did the preliminary research show about Claude's ability to actually generate and review these patches?
So using that CyberGym evaluation set, about 15% of the patches Claude generated were judged to be semantically equivalent to human-generated reference patches.
15%. That sounds maybe a bit low.
Well, we have to note a limitation there. This comparison-based approach, it likely results in false negatives. Because, vulnerabilities can often be fixed in multiple valid ways that don't match the specific reference patch exactly.
Ah, I see. So the true success rate is probably higher than 15%.
It's likely higher, yes. And there were positive findings, too. Manual analysis of the highest scoring patches confirmed they were functionally identical to human-authored patches. Patches that were ultimately merged into the actual open-source software.
Okay, that's a strong indicator.
It really shows that patch generation, just like vulnerability discovery, is an emergent capability, and it's one that can be systematically enhanced with focused research. It's getting better.
That gives us a lot of confidence from the lab results, the benchmarks. But, real-world defensive security is always more complex than any evaluation. So what did Anthropic's trusted partners say? The ones using it in the field.
Yeah, the testimonials were really encouraging. They reinforced the confidence in this applied defensive work. For example, HackerOne's chief product officer reported that using Claude Sonnet 4.5 reduced the average vulnerability intake time for their high-security agents by an impressive 44%.
Wow, nearly halved the intake time.
And at the same time, improved accuracy by 25%. That's a huge operational acceleration. It directly translates to faster risk mitigation for their clients.
That really is a fundamental shift in speed and efficiency. Any other examples?
We also heard from CrowdStrike's chief scientist. They noted Claude's strong promise for red teaming, generating creative attack scenarios to accelerate the study of attacker tradecraft.
So using the AI offensively, but for defensive purposes.
Exactly. That type of automated insight helps organizations proactively find weaknesses and strengthen their defenses before the real attackers do.
Okay, so taking all this and the speed, the capabilities, the real-world results.
Yeah.
What does this all mean for you, the listener, and maybe your organization? It sounds like the primary takeaway is that now is really the time for organizations to move from just observing this trend to actually acting on it.
Absolutely. And this raises the important question, where should organizations start? Where should they integrate this capability first? The source material strongly urges rapid experimentation and evaluation.
Okay, like what kind of experiments?
For example, integrating automated security reviews using something like Claude Code directly into your CI/CD pipelines.
Right, and for listeners who maybe don't spend their day in DevOps, CI/CD stands for Continuous Integration, Continuous Delivery, meaning basically every code change gets instant AI security scrutiny before it even touches the main system.
Precisely. Catching flaws early. Or another area is applying these models in your Security Operations Center, your SOC, for automation.
How would that work?
Think about using AI for SIEM analysis. SIEM, that's security information and event management. These systems sift through just billions of security alerts daily. Using AI here can significantly lower the noise, cut through the chaff, and help human analysts find the real threats much, much faster.
So, better signal, less noise. Makes sense.
It really does.
Okay, so building and adopting AI to give defenders the advantage seems critical. But that's only part of the solution, right? The sources also remind us we need broader discussions. Discussions about making our digital infrastructure more resilient overall and ensuring new software is secure by design right from the outset. Perhaps even using these frontier AI models to help achieve that.
That's exactly right. And we look forward to having those critical discussions with industry, with government, with civil society as AI's impact on cybersecurity transitions really decisively from being some future possibility to a present-day operational requirement. It's here now.
It certainly sounds like it. Well, if you appreciate this kind of deep insight into cutting-edge technology and its implications, definitely hit like and subscribe. See you next time.